Welcome to Haunting Live Podcast, a place where we bring a new paranormal guest each episode to share their journey and experiences.
I work with energy in multiple ways. I'm a Reiki master, as well as being a practitioner of quantum touch, Psych K, and therapeutic touch. But what I'm best known for is my crystal healing work. I'm a certified instructor in crystal healing techniques, and I'm the first and currently the only certified instructor in crystal surgery in Canada. And it is the most advanced form of working with crystals to heal a body, a space, and a land physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
For more Haunting Live real experiences, be sure to follow us on our social on Instagram, Thread, Facebook, and also Blue Sky. And don't forget to also check us out on our official website, hauntinglivepodcast.com.
Are you looking for that hard to find item, spiritual item that your loved one wants to always get, but you don't know right where to check out? Why not check us out here underneath hauntinglivepodcast.com. Underneath our store, though, we actually have tons of items from dream catchers, crystals, so many more for you. Check us out underneath hauntinglivepodcast.com.
Check out Divine Oracle Podcast with your hosts, Gypsy Lady Eva and Brother Chris, as they discuss spiritual topics and current events. Sit back and listen. Popping.
And welcome to Haunting Live Podcast. This is our summer special of bringing back past guests on our show, and we have a wonderful past guest from way back on season 1, episode 51. That's how many episodes we were up to in that season back then. But please welcome back Catherine Keeping. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you back on the show. We've had you back on, like I said, in season 1, and then you were an original guest way back when we first started as well, so this is like your third time on actually, so thank you for coming back on.
Going for number 5 at some point.
Yes, hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
So for people that might not have known who you are or what you do, what your specialties are, can you kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
I work with energy in multiple ways. I'm a Reiki master, as well as being a practitioner of quantum touch, Psych K, and therapeutic touch. But what I'm best known for is my crystal healing work. I'm a certified instructor in crystal healing techniques, and I'm the first and currently the only certified instructor in crystal surgery in Canada. And it is the most advanced form of working with crystals to heal a body, a space, and a land physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It involves working with crystals in a space, doing distance work, working with crystal wands, physically touching, as well as being in proximity to and laying out crystal grids. So if it's a pretty stone or not a pretty stone, it's something that I'm working with for healing.
Yeah, and just while we were chatting before the show there, you were talking about using crystals in the medical field. So maybe you can touch upon that a little bit and how that works.
So crystals for physical healing is something that I often do with clients, both in my space as well as those who are palliative. So there's some, I put a bunch in front of me. Uh, so large black tourmaline, if you hold one in each hand, you can reset the bioelectric field of a person. If a person is in pain, so I had knee surgery and was healing from that, there's something called thulite. It's a Norwegian stone that when you physically rub it on the body, it eases pain. And I found, and my clients found that post-surgery, they had to take less medications when they were working with something with like thulite for pain. When there's inflammation, you can put green fluorite physically on the body as well as underneath the bed to draw away inflammation, whether it's physical or emotional, and it works better than a bag of peas. So whatever the physical problem is, there's a way to use crystals, whether it's on the body or in the field, to ease pain, to promote healing, and in some ways to do some things that are quite miraculous. So one of the things that can be done is when you have significant scars, if you've got a pointed end of a single terminated quartz, you can sew whatever sewing looks like for you, sew over that space in the field. And if you do that on a daily basis, scars will dissipate and disappear from a space. And then instead of there being not only a visible scar, but also tissue within you that is damaged, that becomes a healed space with simply a single pointed quartz.
Interesting. So, did you have to study that, or did you learn by example, doing it to yourself first somehow to learn what these different types of crystals can do?
I did both. So I started off learning from everyone local to me, who live in the land of Thunder Bay Amethyst. That's where I live. So I started learning locally. Then I trained in Winnipeg to become a certified master of Christology and melody crystal healing. I then worked and did my training to become a practitioner in Robert Simmons crystal healing, and then began the work that I mentioned earlier. So there was a fair bit of training, but I find that with whatever I practice, whether it's with a beautiful stone or whether it's with something that I found when I was hiking, that I tend to practice it multiple times before I will do it on a client. Doesn't matter if the textbook says it, doesn't matter how great the teacher is. I need to see it work first before I'm going to work on a client. So I work on myself a lot. I work on my brother a lot. All my best stories are working on my brother. And it's really interesting to me how that has shifted things in my world, because he started off as being the person who, when I would do energy work and when I would work with crystals, he would call it that woo-woo thing you do. And now he's the person who, the moment something hurts, wants a rock. What rock will help with this? And it progressed in a way through clients, this lovely ripple effect of them seeing the work and growing into it and wanting to do more and learn more, so that I wasn't just doing the work, but I was teaching the work now.
So he was sort of a skeptic before, and now he's a believer and actually uses them and wants to use them to help with his healing. So great.
Yes, very much so. And he, in all parts of my practice, is now a believer, having seen the work, having seen the work that I do in readings, in energy clearing, in spirit crossing. He connects to all of that, even if he doesn't understand it in the way that I do.
Yeah, well, we all have our own way of understanding things and using them to the way they work for you the best, right? And that's what we
Yes.
talk about on our show here is your experiences and the way that you've learned how to do things your way. Because somebody might not have done it the same way, but they do the same thing, right? So
Yes.
it's about sharing the experiences along the way and your journey as well. Speaking of your journey, do you want to share some experiences you've had with your brother about, or anybody else that comes to mind about using crystals for healing?
So I have been very lucky to work with a number of clients who have severe cancer diagnoses. And one of them is a very young child who has both a brain tumor and a heart tumor. And we've been doing regular crystal healing for over a year now. And the scans consistently show tumors shrinking. And I know that that's not going to happen every time and with every client. And yet this is consistent. And they're not doing chemo, they're not doing radiation. But her mom is very focused on the holistic and supportive elements of this. And so that makes a world of difference. And I have clients who have been through a number of surgeries around breast cancer and the wounds not healing afterwards. And so that technique that I showed you earlier, the sewing technique, doing that in the field healed scar tissue, healed the space in a way that repeated staples and interventions on an allopathic method had not worked. Client after client after client, it was consistent. And so that has surprised me. But then there's also a spiritual element to it of being able to work with crystals and with energy to trace through past lives. So my experience is that quite often clients have fears that come up at different ages and they're not sure why. And it's often because it didn't happen in this lifetime, but it didn't happen until they were 30 or 35 or 40 in another life. And once you can track through which lifetime that is connected to, you can release that fear and they don't have to carry it forward into this life.
Yeah, that's great. So it can actually heal over generations then, not just what you're inflicted with at the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've done some work with people who've testified for the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Commission. And to be able to see how the work is positively impacting them and their family is quite a blessing, really.
Yeah, I'm aware of that one down here. There's a lot of work being done in that organization as well down in our area here. So that's great that you can help them out too up there. So what else have you been up to lately since we've had you on the show last? And have you had any projects? I know you mentioned to me before we went live here about being invited as a speaker. So do you want to talk about that opportunity for a little bit?
This fall, I'm going to be speaking at the Paranormal Conference in Thunder Bay and talking to people about how to cross over spirits that are stuck. It's something that I do as a regular part of my practice, whether it's spirits that are stuck on the land, to an object, or to a person. There are ways to compassionately cross over spirits. And there are some that are very recently stuck. Often they have died in a traffic accident or they've had some form of Alzheimer's, some form of dementia, and are very confused at the time of death and they get stuck. And so I'm going through the methods that I know about how to cross spirits over that you can then take away from the conference and use in your daily life.
All right, that sounds amazing. I've heard of that conference. I think it's fairly new conference, only a few years old in Thunder Bay. And I haven't been able to make it there yet myself. Thunder Bay is my hometown as well. And I wish I could make it up there if I could, but I haven't made it up there yet to see that conference. So hopefully some year I will.
It's exciting to see how quickly it's growing because it started off as Mel and Gail having attended different conferences and being inspired, and it's becoming a thing that people not from Thunder Bay are excited to be in. So that's really neat to see.
And what's the official name of it?
Paracon, Thunder Bay Paracon.
Sounds amazing. And when is it taking place? What month?
It's in October.
Okay. Perfect month for that.
Yes. And the other, well, I have a few products that have come through since I've last talked to you. But the other big thing that's coming up is this summer, I'm leading my first ever retreat. It's going to be a little bit north of me, up in Obonga, on Obonga Lake. And I really hope that Obonga Lake has a Lake Obonga monster, but I don't know if it does. And I'm going to be doing a crystal surgery intensive. So whether you've done crystal surgery or not, whether all you do is think that rocks are pretty and you want to do more with it, it's 2.5 days of learning. And we're going to have a break on the second day so that you can go out on the lake and go kayaking, or you could go for a swim or go have a sauna, because you have to have that if you're in the north. So that is coming up July 11th weekend. So that's posted up on Facebook as well. So that's kind of exciting. And then in terms of products, I now have 7 gem teas. So they are teas that I co-created with the tea master at International House of Tea that each have a healing grade crystal in them that has the same energetic frequency as the tea. Because I do tea leaf reading, they also really read well. And at the end of it, you get a healing grade crystal. So those have come out, and I've got a few crystal sets. And the next one coming out will be the Mercury retrograde set. And I started them because I was finding people would come to me and say, I bought this set of stones. Now what do I do with them? Because there wouldn't be instructions, just this is good for travel. And you'd go, do I throw it at the TSA agent? What do I do with this set of stones? So I created sets of stones with instructions of what do I actually do with it to achieve the goal I'm looking for.
And you're the perfect person for that because you have been dealing with crystals for your entire career, basically. So you know
Yes.
what to do with what type and what type helps with what you need
Yeah.
it to
And
do with. So,
it is honestly something that people giggle about in my family, the amount of crystals that I have, because for the longest time, until I started actively working in energy, I avoided rocks at all cost because my mom loved them. And I was a stubborn child and I was determined to be different than her. And now there are rocks in every single room in my house. And my brother often says that we have no worries if there's ever a storm because the rocks will hold the house down.
but you don't want your crystals to blow away, though.
No, but well, in every direction I look right now, there are stones.
And I think I remember something before when you were on in the past as a guest. You were speaking about something. Were you the one that was telling me you could speak to the rocks?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you still do that?
Oh, I do. So I had told you earlier I was learning to make crystal wands this past weekend from my wand maker, Scoop over at Magical Delights in Wisconsin. I just made my first one. I cannot do what he does yet at all. Will take me years. But in order to choose each of the stones, I was out loud talking to each of the stones to see which ones wanted to be a part of the wand, what order they wanted to be in, how they wanted to fit together. I find that sometimes stones, it sounds like you're hearing a voice. Sometimes it sounds like you're hearing music.
And did they speak to you for the wand that you created? Did they tell you, pick me?
Very much so. And not just the type of stone, but the particular stone. Yeah.
That's cool. So how long did that take you to develop that skill to listen to what they were saying?
I didn't have it, and then I did. Life changed. So I had grown up speaking with angels and spirits and dragons, and that was my normal world, and seeing colors around people. And I didn't realize that not everyone did that. No one had ever told me not to, so that was my normal. And at one point, I was where were we? We're in Woodstock, New York. And I went to this tiny little crystal shop. It was on the second floor of a building. Felt very Harry Potter. So this little old wooden stair on the side to get up to the door to go into the room. And I wanted to get something for my mom when I went home. And I heard this stone. I heard this piece of fire agate calling my name. I knew that was a stone I had to bring to her. I'd never heard a stone before, and I haven't had a day of not hearing them since. And I think it was because I was finally open to the connection.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what it is too. Like you have to be open to it enough that you connect with the stone that's meant for you. Speaking of that,
Yeah.
how would you recommend people pick out stones that they want? You know, if they go to a crystal shop or something, how would you recommend people pick the right one?
I'd recommend a couple things. So the first thing I'd say is to talk to your angels or guides, whichever ones you would regularly communicate with, and ask them to go into that shop and clear the energy. Because there have been hundreds of people touching those stones. and you want to be able to communicate with them clearly. So have your guides do the work before you even get there to clear everything up. And when you get there, you've got a few ways of finding stones. So it could be that you want a shielding stone. So you could be looking for an amber or a holy stone or an infinite. You've researched what shielding stones are, so you know what you're looking for, and that narrows it down. You could be, I have a friend, Sylvia. Every stone that she looks at has to be pretty, and yet she'll find the best stone for what she's looking for. It could be, I have a friend, Julie. Everything has to feel right in her hands. She's never going to pick a bumpy stone. When I pick stones for healing work as opposed to for another part of life, it's different. I'm looking for how heavy is the stone so that if I'm putting it on the throat chakra or on the third eye, I don't want it to be too heavy or too pokey. I don't want stones that the shape of it lends to falling off of a person so that I can't put it on them because it's just going to roll off onto the floor. And I'm also looking for the grade of a stone. So the higher the grade of a stone, the fewer of them you need to buy. It's going to cost you a little bit more to begin with, but then instead of having to buy 5 or 10, you need one. So I do a little bit of research. I know that for a better quartz, I want a clearer quartz. For a better amber, so I've got some amber here, I want there to be a little bit of weight to it. A younger amber is much lighter. If I want, so the black tourmaline that I showed you earlier, you might be able to see edges and lines to it. That's because it has full cleavage, a proper shape to it, tells you that this is a stone that can do more, so you need fewer stones to do that. So a little bit of research around what kind of stone you want will allow you to buy the higher grade. And most crystal shops will also list what grade of stone each of the stones are, because some will have AAA grade all the way down to B grade, and you can look at that and make your choices around what you want. But I know that if it's a stone that I'm carrying in my pocket, I want it to be small, but not so small that I'm going to lose it. So I have in my wallet a jade coin as opposed to a jade tumbled, because jade tumbles tend to be very small and I've lost many of them. And a jade coin is as big as a toonie and I don't lose it anymore.
Yeah, I love jade. Like natural deep green jade is my favorite type of crystal. So that's I got one that's in a pyramid shape. So it's a pyramid stone. So it's like pointed, so the energy goes right up through it. So it's cool.
And I like the purple and the black jade as well because they do different things. So purple jade, if you're doing any kind of energy work on yourself or someone else, it amplifies the healing. And if you've got black jade makes you invisible when you need to be. So whether you're walking through a haunted space and you don't want the angry spirits to see you, you only want to be seen when you choose to be seen, or you're at a family meeting and you don't want to be volunteered for one more thing, people will miss that you're there and you can choose what to volunteer for. And it's just tiny little pieces of black jade, maybe cost you $4, and it makes such a difference. I'm happier at family events now because I have black jade.
Great to bring at work too, probably. Then you don't get roped into doing extra work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Actually, I've never really heard of black jade. I'm gonna have to check that one out and see if I can find some.
Yeah, it's usually in the tumbled section. You need a store that has space for a little bit larger of a tumbled selection as opposed to the 5 most popular stones.
Do you have anything else that you want to talk about or demonstrate for us with your crystals? We can have time for a little bit more here before I let you go today.
Actually, I want to show you a couple things.
Yeah.
Things that I learned. So, selenite cylinders, if you hold them with your arms down, they remove the stress of the day. So someone showed me this when I went to the Tucson Gem Show, because we would get anxious with all of the driving and the finding of the stones and hearing all the languages, and it would get overwhelming at the end of the day. And it doesn't work the same if you've got the sticks of selenite. But two selenite cylinders will ease the stress at the end of every single day. It's just amazing. So I'm going to do something I wouldn't tell you to do with any other stone. So these are called Lonsdaleite diamonds. They look kind of like ping pong balls. They're the debris from a meteorite, and they create what feels to me like the cone of silence, that space of peace around a person when you're holding one in each hand. They're not crazy expensive, but oh, they're so powerful. And if you're working with someone who gets easily overwhelmed, whether it's an adult with an ADHD or a teenage child that is overwhelmed, or you're having anxiety and panic attacks, these are amazing to have. And because you're traveling, it's one other thing. It's called nunderite. It's not a crazy beautiful stone. It's brownish and greenish. But if you put it in your suitcase or whatever bags you have, things disappear. They look invisible. So if you're carrying home perhaps way too many rocks from the gem show and you need your luggage to get through, nunderite makes a world of difference in really practical ways.
I'll have to try to get some of that as well because we're going on a trip shortly, so that might help out. So, okay, well, wonderful having you back on and sharing some of your more recent experiences with us and some new techniques and tips that you've learned through your crystal work, which is what you do. So I really appreciate you coming back and talking to us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, not a problem. So how can people locate you if they want to ask you crystal questions or look at your classes that you offer or anything else that you want to share with us?
My website is gratitudegemoils.com. And I can also be found on both Instagram and Facebook under Catherine Keeping, Keeping.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, and wonderful having you back on. And we'll have you back again to talk about anything new. Thanks for coming on. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Miss one of our episodes? Replay your episode on Rhode Island Broadcasting. Show your support for Haunting Live by supporting our broadcast partner, Rhode Island Broadcasting. Find them on YouTube. For more Haunting Live real experiences, be sure to follow us on our social on Instagram, Thread, Facebook, and also Blue Sky. And don't forget to also check us out on our official website, hauntinglivepodcast.com.